the patient's like, "Doctor, my stomach really hurts," and the doctor's like, "It's probably ghosts. Anyway, here's cocaine." Josh has been watching them like all the way through,
Oh, that's
which is
awesome.
crazy.
I appreciate that.
And that's what I told.
Shout out
Shout out.
to. I'm gonna bleep out his name.
Yeah, shout out to. I really liked. Or sorry, he said he really liked the Creed one a lot.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, I hope he really likes the one that was just posted, because I feel like that one's really strong too. The viewer suggestion number 2.
But yeah, we're talking about A Ghost Story today.
Yep.
I am so glad we got this one because I have so many movies that I see the trailer for and I'm like, this is it. I'm going to love this movie. I don't know why. I just know it from the trailer. And then I forget about them for like half a decade and just like don't watch them. And this was one of them where it was back when I would watch reviews on movies, and everyone's reviews, I loved the way they were describing it. And it seemed like a really cool experience. And it was definitely that. It was definitely worth it. It was also definitely worth the wait. You know, I don't think I needed the recency of the, you know, the excitement for it to carry it at all. Like, because it's been so long. I was like, oh yeah, that movie. I wanted to watch that movie. Maybe it'll be good. I had no, you know, real excitement or anything for it, but like it was so awesome.
I agree. I heard about it recently, like probably a year and a half, 2 years ago was the first time I saw like a clip from it. And it was just one of those like compilations of shots from the movie.
Oh,
just like, but it was all of the ghost.
Yeah.
And just like his different, you know, what do you call that? Like aesthetic looking shots.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's cool. That'd be an interesting movie to watch. But then I was kind of like, I kind of got out of it, didn't really watch it, and then just kind of kept putting it off. And so I'm glad we both decided to watch it, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the guy and the ski girl. Maybe I didn't know there'd be another ghost in the movie. That was cool.
Yeah. I love the costume design of the ghost. We talked a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Pre-recording about it, about how that was like first idea for the movie was to have just a bedsheet ghost.
Yeah.
But it not be silly and not be goofy. It'd be kind of dramatic.
And
so once they got that out of the way, they spent more time figuring everything else out about the movie, and then realized that costume for the ghost actually a lot harder and more difficult to work with than they thought. And so they had
like to achieve the look.
Yeah, to achieve the look. For whenever he was going to be walking around, like they couldn't just use a regular bed sheet like they planned, because it wasn't big enough. The eye holes would move all over the place, so they had to figure out a way to keep them in place. They couldn't have the actor move too much. They found whatever the sheet was just on him, they had to create some sort of padding and shape with like a hoop just to get everything so he would look the same throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, like that kind of triangle look.
Yeah. And I think the end result was awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
They nailed it.
I can't say I was actually necessarily surprised with how much the ghost was in the movie. I was glad. I was afraid, okay, he's not going to die until like halfway through the movie. But I'm glad he died when he did.
Yeah.
Just the idea of the ghost just observing seems really bland. The way they did things to kind of show how long he was observing for, or his emotions, I mean, because you can't see the actor's face at all. Can't really see his body. But the way that they use music and lighting to kind of show what he's feeling. What's his name? M or C? It's C.
Yeah, it's C.
Was really good. I love the shot particular where he's just kind of standing in the corner of the room and his wife M keeps leaving and going to work to show that
that was awesome.
Done.
That shot was also really awesome because it was right after 10-minute like pie eating scene, right? Yeah. So it was like juxtaposition of like just sitting there and then like you kind of got used to that, and then that scene happens and it's like, oh shit, all this time went by. What the, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Pie scene, great.
It was so good.
I feel like you're really able to feel her grief.
Yeah.
Watching her eat a big old chocolate pie.
Yeah. It was so weird. It was so unsettling, but feels like the unsettling that, you know, they wanted for that scene, I think. We were also talking about this before on the podcast, but we'll bring it up now as far as like that scene, you know, the pie eating scene was like really good, and like narratively it totally made sense to like kind of zero in on that. It was a great way of doing a lot of like storytelling work with less filmmaking work to basically, you know, rather than montages or like dialogue or anything. Like, you know, we watch movies and we have this like everybody's seen a ton of movies, and so they have a ton of like, whether we know it or not, like kind of filmmaking terminology to kind of rely on, you know what I mean? Like everyone knows what a montage is and how it feels and stuff like that, right? So the fact that they chose to stay on it and they didn't basically utilize any filmmaking. It was actually just pretty much a performance piece. They just turned on a camera. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The fact that they did it that way, it achieved what maybe montages, maybe her talking to her parents or something might have achieved narratively, but like with a lot less effort and also a lot more patience demanded of the audience, which was very uncomfortable and unsettling. You know what I mean? If this movie had came out a long time ago, maybe it would have been less weird. You know what I mean? Like that long shot. But I think like the further we go with technology and like overstimulation and whatnot, it's like, TikTok and like we make videos and they're like 10 seconds long. Yeah. That's how we're able to try and compete with things. Like the more we get used to kind of like video art being about quickness, I think the more unsettling just stillness, you know what I mean, will kind of feel. So I think waiting to watch this movie actually made that scene just feel even worse in a good way. It was even more unsettling and I loved it. And all the other long shots they did. They weren't all created equal. But that one just hit like a truck. You know what I mean? Like it was so hard to watch and like you couldn't take your eyes off it. You know what I mean?
And I feel like with all the long shots in the movie, the performance of it was, I mean, the other ones were kind of more still shots. I mean, when she was taking out the trash. Yeah. She's taking out the trash. She struggles with it.
Yeah.
But that one in particular, I mean, she's eating that pie for sure. She is shoving it in her mouth. And it's got to be just as uncomfortable for the actress as it was.
Oh yeah,
for the
like
audience.
the noises she was making. I was like, those are real. Like what the? Oh.
And then I love the ghost is in the background watching.
Yeah,
it too.
Yeah.
That was great.
Oh my gosh, what's the actress's name? Moore?
I forget.
Something more maybe.
She's in Her. Plays his wife. Maybe?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Her performance was amazing in this movie. She easily had the strongest performance. Casey Affleck was really good, but he was kind of just the part he plays in a lot of movies. Yeah. And he wasn't in that much, to be fair, as well.
Right.
But I do love that part he keeps playing. Like, have you seen Manchester by the Sea?
No, it's on my list.
I think I asked you this on the podcast before, actually, which is pretty funny. It definitely felt very similar to that role, and it was good. But man, her performance was so awesome. It was kind of sad that she wasn't in the movie more.
Right.
The reason why I really like the storytelling, but I don't know. What I thought the movie was going to be was him just watching her entire life lived without him.
That's what I was thinking it was going to be like that as well, going into it. Or I thought there'd be more of him outside of the house.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I thought he'd be in the house the whole time.
But, especially whenever they bring in like the boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to see more their relationship progressing without him. But, I mean, she moves out and then the next family moves in.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all. I was not expecting it to totally shift focus to being about more like bigger themes of time and like humanity and death and stuff.
Right. It's like, okay, this is a interesting romance,
Yeah.
Maybe like a sad love story that we never got to see the fruition of.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, this is about time and eternity and the significance of life.
Yeah.
And what it means to, I mean, like your memory and what's still there. Whenever you're not around. Yeah. Like, it reminds me, and I'm surprised in that freaking long monologue from the hipster guy.
Oh my gosh.
He never brought up the Ernest Hemingway quote about how a man dies twice. Do you know that quote? It's like a man dies twice. The first time at his actual death, and the second time when the last time his name is spoken.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
And so that's what the movie reminded me a lot about.
Yeah. That really encapsulates like that whole spiel the guy went on for sure.
Which, but then, he's talking about Beethoven and the Ninth Symphony, which is good. I mean, it's the same thing, whenever there's like 5% of the population still around from our, from the life that we're living in right now, like it's going, and then just 5% of the people are there because of natural disaster. Yeah. They'll still know Beethoven Symphony because it's so well known. And that's going to start the cycle again, is what what that whole monologue was about. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is whenever I was watching it first, I was thinking, okay, when we're talking about time and memory, it's connected to C. It's connected to the ghost. Yeah. But then as it just kept moving forward in time and then way back in time and it brought back up, I didn't see it as that anymore. And I just saw it more as just place, the house, the land there in the history about that. Yeah. Which was a complete shift from the beginning of the movie. Yeah. But then, of course, by the end, it ties everything together, which was really cool.
Yeah. Literally, I had the exact same experience as far as like trying. The entire time I kept trying to like shove like their romance into everything, like
Yeah.
trying to understand it, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, this doesn't fit
No.
constantly. And then
like, oh,
when
that's
it
not the
got
point.
back, when it got back to their romance, he literally said, it's like, why do you want to stay here? And he's like, I don't know the history or something. And I was like, oh,
Yeah. So
yeah, I guess that's what
That was
we're
a little
talking
on the
about now.
nose.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, he just didn't want to leave, and then even his ghostly self won't leave the house.
Even the ghost looking at the ghost.
Yep, that was trippy.
I was like, are they gonna look at each other? What's gonna happen?
I thought-
how does time work? What is happening?
Dude, I thought for a second he was gonna like, because he's looking to his right, like the ghost looking out the window.
Uh-huh.
Thought he was gonna like look to his left, and there's like another version of him watching him right there too.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that would have opened up a whole nother can of worms.
Uh-huh.
And the movie already has so many.
Yeah.
Like, let's not do that one.
Yeah.
Let's not go into that part of time.
Yeah. It was very weird.
But then it seems like the ghost's
Mm-hmm.
main mission eventually is finding that letter or that note
Yeah.
that his wife left. And I thought it was interesting that the pioneer girl left a note as well on the property, which is interesting. Which can't forget about something I want to talk about. But then, of course, at the end of the movie, he eventually does get it out before the house gets destroyed. And I guess upon reading it, he's ready to move on.
Yeah.
Because, and I didn't see this at first, I had to think about it later.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand it. When he's in the hospital and the wall opens,
Yeah.
and there's just light. I was just like, and then he goes the other way. I was like, what's that about? And then later, like, okay, I guess that's the afterlife.
Yeah.
And he wasn't ready for that yet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Was missing something, and I guess whatever he was missing is on that piece of paper. You know?
Yeah.
And we kind of see that with the other ghost. How they didn't even know what they were waiting for.
Yeah.
But they
was
were still waiting
crazy.
for something or for someone. And then, of course, when their house gets destroyed, they don't care to continue their journey because I guess they didn't remember why they were there. They don't really know. They kind of felt like they were just aimlessly there.
Or they had an epiphany when the house was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they decide that they're done.
Yeah.
Have you seen the 90s movie Casper? Like the
Oh
live
my gosh.
action Casper and the Friendly Ghost?
Only scenes. Maybe I saw it when I was a kid.
There's like a big theme in that movie with the ghosts that they have unfinished business.
Yes.
And so that's just what I was thinking about. Like, I guess that ghost finished their business.
Yeah.
And then our main character eventually does. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's definitely like folklore, but in most cultures, there's something to do with the dead and like staying around and, you know what I mean? Like, like haunting, you know, the people they loved or something, or the people that killed them, or, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, that's definitely something that's like situated and they're kind of experimenting with and playing on.
You know, our main ghost, he was definitely curious because
Yeah.
after the wife moved, you know, it was probably the note, but he felt like there was something worth sticking around for.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something that he still had questions, whether that was about the history of the house or about, you know, the note, what his wife left, whatever that was. I thought it was cool that they tied that in. He did get to see the entire history, past, present, future of that property, which was interesting. And one thing I did really like about the movie was we have those really long shots of things that in other movies would seem pointless.
Yeah.
Watching someone eat a pie, take the trash out, trying to go to sleep, just a dead body on a cart.
Yeah.
Things like that. But they don't show us the things you would normally see in a movie, like the car crash or the family getting killed or just time passing, you know, as much. It's just quick shots. Like specifically when it's the house party.
Yeah.
With Kesha's cameo, by the way.
That's Kesha?
That's Kesha.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even
The
notice.
girl that is like at the coffee table.
Yeah, yeah, with
that they weirdly focus on. You didn't know that was Kesha. You'd be like, why are they focusing on this background actor so much? It's because they use her song during that scene, and she wanted to be in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
But it goes from the house party scene just to immediately, like, however many decades later to where the house is falling apart. We don't see what happens between that. And the movie does that a lot. It's just quick cuts. I mean, you go from the family being like, we're going to build a house. This is going to be great, to everyone's dead.
Uh-huh.
They all got attacked by whoever.
Uh-huh.
So that was something that stuck with me with the movie. Things that you would normally want to see play out, you didn't. You just saw the aftermath. And I think that ties into memory, you know, what's left. So I thought.
Yeah. I love that aspect of the movie so much. So when you say, what do you mean when you say memory exactly? If you expound on that a little more.
Like when a period of time or when a certain event is done, what do you remember from it? Like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. I mean, that character, if you want to know what the movie's about, it's that monologue.
Yeah.
You know? So what do you remember from time in that in your life or just specifically in the movie from that property?
Yeah.
It cuts out all the boring stuff and it leaves you with the bigger things. And that goes into just the circle of time as well, which is what more is a more dominant part of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. When it came to like what was shown in the movie and like the Spectre's observations of them, the juxtaposition of time passing so quickly or excruciatingly holding on something.
Yeah.
As far as like just like the storytelling, I don't know if it was supposed to be that the ghost experiences time that way, in the sense of is the ghost just sitting there and then all of the sudden time changes, like that ghosts aren't on the same like linear path that humans are on, and so that's why it's moving that quickly? Or is it just that when a spirit is like, you know, dealing with the fact that they have lost their body and they're still on, you know what I mean, and they're not ready to go to the other side and they stay behind, is it that feelings of like, I don't know, regret or dread like keep them locked in place, focusing and ruminating on it to the point to where they have to be awoken by something happening? You know what I mean? So it's like that very long scene of him watching, you know, his wife grieve, and then I think he was like awake, you know, like watching it the whole time. But then as soon as she leaves, like I think maybe he just starts to ruminate and sits there.
He just spaces out.
Yeah, he spaces out, and then like he sees something happen. Since he has eternity,
he can space out for years.
He can space out for years, decades. You know what I mean?
That's how I took it as well.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I think what kind of what you said about it makes more sense, because I didn't know what the point of doing that was, like story wise. But it makes more sense to like focus on memory as far as like what do you remember from things? Do you like what do you miss and what do you miss out on? What do you focus on? It's pretty cool.
And the movie does this a really annoyingly good way.
Yeah,
it only focuses on what's important to its message. And I think that's another reason why you don't see a lot of the bigger things you normally see.
Yeah.
Or why you don't see the note at the end of the movie. That's not important.
Knew they were going to do that. Yeah.
There's nothing unimportant. Even those long shots where it seems like nothing's happening and it's annoying or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like that's important for the point of the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing about it. I just am probably going to watch it more to continue to try and make sure I'm not missing anything else, because it felt very intentional. And even if it wasn't entirely all intentional, you know what I mean? Like from the filmmaking wise, like
some things we just pick up on and we just run with it.
Even if some of them weren't intentional, but we're perceiving them that way, I think that just speaks to some fundamental human connection, you know what I mean, about these concepts that I don't know a lot of like the production side of what happened. You know, maybe they were rushed, maybe they didn't have a lot of time. You know, there's 100 different reasons why the movie could have turned out this way, and some of those reasons are because they were meticulous and they meant for every second to be the way that it was, and some of them are because they just had no other option. They just had to get it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think the budget was really low. I think it was only like $100,000 to $200,000. I did read
and they got Casey Affleck.
And they got Casey Affleck somehow.
Yeah.
I did read a little bit about the note.
Okay.
And the writer-director never thought it was important for the audience to know it was on the note.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything in mind for it. So they had like placeholders, but he said he couldn't even remember what they were. Like, that wasn't the point.
Yeah.
The audience was never going to know. He didn't even have an idea of what was on the note. It was just the pursuit of it is what he wanted.
The pursuit of it was the motivation to stay, essentially, for...
I guess so.
And he would try and get after it, but things would get in the way, or he would space out. And that definitely felt like a very human thing for
a ghost to be doing.
Yeah, for an eternal being to... You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe because he hasn't moved on yet.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a personification, you know what I mean, of like what a human with eternity would do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still be a stupid human and like distracted and like, you know what I mean?
One thing that did kind of bug me about that is they do a really good job of not doing anything crazy, like ghostly stuff. Like we see the one shot where he's holding the milk and then it goes to like, where it's on like a fish line. And
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Or when he goes through the walls.
Yeah.
That one shot. Okay. They introduced that. They went so long without introducing any of that.
Yes.
And then they did that. Why can't he just like grab the note? Why can't he just reach in the wall and grab it?
Maybe
that's
that's
to pick at the paint.
Again, I think that could be explained with it just being like, what would a human do with these powers? You know what I mean? Like
I just was like,
as far as limiting beliefs, you know what I mean?
Right. I just wish that they didn't introduce the other stuff.
Okay.
Because that part bugs me.
I don't even know why they did. It didn't feel super connected.
No. Yeah.
Like terrorizing the you know what I mean? The Spanish speaking family. I didn't understand that.
Yeah. I don't know if he just wanted them out
or again, like with Eternity, it's like,
what else am I gonna do?
Like morality doesn't matter. And it's like, I don't give a shit. I'll just try this out. I'm a ghost now.
Yeah. It's like, I'm a ghost. What am I supposed to do?
What am I supposed to do?
Haunt people.
I'll try this.
Scare them.
It was so weird.
I know.
I mean, like they were in his house that he loved, apparently. So maybe, but
then he didn't really care.
I don't know
with the next people that were in the house.
Follow his wife, yeah, and he didn't care as much about the party.
I thought about why he didn't follow his wife too.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I think if he did, then that would turn into once again like a failed romance, and then we would see how her life played out without him.
Yeah.
Then the 75% of the movie really isn't even about the relationship.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they didn't want to go down that route.
Yeah. I like the movie as is. I also would have liked if the 75% was replaced with a more intimate, romance about grief and moving on and stuff like that. That's what I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
I think it would still make a really, really good movie with this concept. But I didn't mind the fact that it just like kept surprising me and changing and like getting bigger and bigger in its like scope and concept. I didn't mind that at all. I
think
I still want that other movie.
Keeps it as relevant as it still is today. It's not just about love.
Yeah. It's very similar to About Time in that way.
Yeah.
Or rather could have been similar to About Time, because I feel like About Time is more the movie I was thinking this movie was, where it focuses on like one concept and message and doesn't get too heady and too dense or big with it. Still says something very profound in a very intimate, like kind of familiar like setting. You know what I mean? Which is what I thought this was going to be.
I'm glad they didn't do this because that would just be like an Invisible Man kind of thing where like she feels his presence as a ghost and like knows he's there with her or something. I'm glad they didn't do that.
I feel like, yeah.
But they got really close, but I love the way that they did it where she's laying on the floor and he's like watching her listen to his song and she like puts her hand back and like almost touches the sheet. That was cool.
Yeah.
I liked that.
I love that scene. I love when she went to sleep and he put his hand on her, but like it's like, I don't know, she was so solemn and unemotive for the first half of the movie after his death. But when the ghost placed his hand on her, that's when she really started to break down. You know what I mean? As far as like what the movie showed for the first time. And it probably was to do with the presence, but
they didn't like say that or show it.
Yeah, they didn't say it or show it, and it wasn't essential to the movie. I don't know.
I thought that was cool. There wasn't anything extremely cheesy in the movie to take me out of it.
Yeah, the hippie guy's monologue was a little cheesy. I feel like that's the closest they got to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if they didn't have that, it would be too confusing. So it was the glue that kind of held the whole movie together. So I'm not saying like it was bad or take it out, but yeah, that was the cheesiest it got for me. Like that same monologues and like many things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It did like it like kind of reframed me to like experience the rest of the movie the proper way. So
it did. It's in like closer to the middle of the movie, and I think because you could get really confused. You're like, I thought this was a romance movie, but now we just watched him haunt some family.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
It's like, this is the point.
Yep.
This monologue, we're like closing it on the audience. We're bringing it where we want it to go. So they're not expecting a romance anymore.
Yeah.
They're expecting this new theme, and here it is, the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So
I
love
start
that it's
out
in the middle.
Yeah, they start out kind of romancy, kind of like, it might be this way. Then they disrupt you with like the filmmaking, like really long takes. They disrupt you further with like terrorizing a family. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And when you're at your most confused is where they give you that monologue, and then the rest of the movie makes sense, and also starts to make a little more sense.
Yeah, I like that they wrap it back around.
Yeah,
that's great.
That was crazy. Like, what did he do? Like, do you think he was, again, we don't know if it was like he sits there and time passes by and then he jogged out of it, or he's jumping around in time, or like time is forcing him to jump around. But it's so weird how he went forward way back and then to the present. It's like basically what I'm saying. It's really funny if like he just sits there and then gets woken up every now and again, because that means he experienced all of time and then started back over.
Well,
like
no,
he waited
so-
that long.
So when he goes back is whenever he jumps off the futuristic skyscraper.
Oh, that's right. I totally
right?
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So I don't know if when he jumps off, he had another death,
Yeah. I think.
or it
I
just
think
restarts. I don't know.
exactly. Okay, you're right. I forgot about that scene.
Because surely where he's at
Uh-huh.
with like futuristic kind of landscape,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
not that far in the future,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's more lights and stuff to show you that we're in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not the end of time, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
It's
No,
especially
not
not
at
the
all.
end of time from what the hippie guy was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But then he doesn't even go to the beginning of time.
Yeah.
He only
Exactly.
goes to like what, like the
Hmm.
1700s maybe?
Yeah. So maybe that was whatever force is allowing him to be in the world without moving on to the afterlife. Maybe its job is to put him in places to make him realize what he needs to realize to accept the afterlife. And like,
He'd gone too far, like where he was at
uh-huh.
before he jumped off. He was never going to find what he needed.
Yeah. And it's like, I
So
think,
we needed to move him back.
yeah, again, like a human being, you know, having this eternal power, I think
He missed it the first
pretty,
time.
pretty like morbid, but I think like, so he died, he didn't, you know, kill himself before.
Yeah.
But then, as the ghost, he's like, even with all of his power, I can't figure it out. I'm just gonna kill myself again.
Yeah,
but he's a
obviously.
ghost,
So-
and so the force that's like, you know, allowing him to be there is like, well, that's not gonna work, moron. So they like threw him back to a
Yeah.
different time to totally change his frame of reference to understand what's happening. Maybe I don't know.
Almost like he's the audience watching this movie and they had to go back and be like, no, this isn't about you.
Yeah, maybe something like that. This isn't about you, or it isn't about, you know, the beginning of what you thought it was going to be about. It's about everything, everywhere, all at once.
All at once. So yeah, thought about it, but like, I'm never going to do it. And he was like, well, there's this website called My Casting File. You should check it out. I'm like, that sounds familiar. Found out I have an account already. And I was like, oh, this is that
Wow,
website.
so you had totally forgot. It
Yep.
was 2 years. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, Nathan. Are you kidding me? I forgot what I did this morning.
Yeah.
Existential.
Uh-huh.
Is that how I say it?
Existential.
Existential.
That's how I say it, but I don't know how to actually say it.
We'll put both in.
Yeah.
Existential.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, makes you feel
Positing.
small.
Yeah. I
Which is
wonder if
good.
that was the point, to make you feel small, or if maybe there's an aspect of it that is supposed to make you feel small, but then make you feel empowered
Mm-hmm.
to do something. Because I have my lens through viewing things, and I can take everything from the movie, and it was making me feel very small for the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
But after the movie, I was able to take that and try and turn it to make it something that would be really useful for me and empower me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
What was it? Essentially, I think like the simplest way to put the way I looked at it was, if this was their message to like help, you know, to actually like be helpful rather than just make you feel like shit. The way I looked at it was actually the guy's monologue was a long shot. It was, you know what I mean? And it was like, there was so much focus placed on it. That whole monologue is designed to make you feel, you know, stupid and small. And it was doing that. And then afterwards, basically the way that I was able to take that and what the whole movie felt like and like make it positive was, yes, and like, it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're right. You're absolutely right. But we are just, us as humans, like, we've never had more information and connectivity. So I don't know if like our brains, you know what I mean, and our souls were ready for this much foresight and this much history to draw upon. So it's really easy to come to those conclusions. And in fact, it's possible that those conclusions and focusing on those and is like a very toxic, sad, nihilistic way to just end and not accomplish anything. Focusing on the fact that you probably won't accomplish anything will probably make it so that you don't accomplish anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you know, the spheres, like, you know, concern versus influence. Like, that's all has nothing to do with us, essentially, like concern wise, you know what I mean? It's very concerning that all of that is probably true. But as far as life now, it has nothing to do with me, and I can make the most of this now. And maybe that's what the movie was about in a positive sense, or
At the
maybe
end of the day, he's still responsible for fulfilling whatever he.
whatever he can. Yeah. It's, you know what I mean? And that it felt weird because it's like, now this may just be like my talking a lot more than just like me speaking to some actual human consistency or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially what kind of like got me out of it and made me just more annoyed by it and kind of like back to a more positive state was I agree with you and everything you're saying, and I feel like everybody comes to this conclusion at one point or another because of our access to knowledge more than ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like why are you talking about it?
Yeah.
Why are you pushing that on people? Is it you seeking help, or is it you trying to drag people down with you? You know what I mean? Like the guy expositing, when you look at like what is being achieved by it, that's what made it feel like, what is the point of this? And because of that, that's what made me think, I think we all think that, like what he said, we all like have moments where we worry about those things that are so out of our, control in our lifetimes that they're non-essential basically. But we all find ways to push through that, and we all find ways to carry on and actually do things throughout our life despite that knowledge. So when you start expositing that knowledge towards people, you can potentially just like trigger another episode of them worrying about those things for no reason. We're all worrying about it anyway.
Right.
We all have that existential hum in the background anyway. So it just seemed like kind of weird and selfish to do that. It seemed like dragging people down to your level rather than letting them operate at a slightly more positive, higher level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what got me out of my super existential episode that it was putting me into. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I would consider myself a comfortable nihilist.
Yeah.
I'm just comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to live for myself, knowing that everything's going to end.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah. And that's almost like maybe.
But clearly the hipster in the movie was not comfortable with it.
Exactly. Like
Or at
that's
least
why he was
putting on a
opposing it.
facade that
Yeah.
he was. But yeah,
Exactly.
so.
I think that's exactly it. That's why he was like pushing that on people, is because of the uncomfortability with it, that you want to feel something with others, or you want people to also experience your dread or something. And that
Yeah.
seemed like a unhealthy way for you, but also others to deal with that.
And it can be uncomfortable. There's times where I would like look at, and it still happens, but it's not like worrying anymore,
Yeah.
where like I would meet like an elderly man
Yeah.
and be like, this guy's in his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I've met him.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on the earth so many years.
Yeah.
He's been on the earth, 50 more years than me.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I'm meeting him. And this is the only time I'm going to see him ever. But he's lived 70 years, of a life.
Yeah.
And here we are at a Target or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm crossing paths with him. Only time this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's not going to get a redo of life.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to get a redo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's like, he's just buying peanut butter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What has he done? Has he done anything
Yeah.
like significant?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like looking around. No one knows who this guy is.
Uh-huh.
He's had so much time. He's had 70 years.
Yeah.
And it would just worry me,
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm 70, am I just going to be buying peanut butter? Is that going to be my biggest concern
At that point.
at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Are people going to know anything about me? Are people going to care?
Yeah.
Am I still going to have relationships?
Mm-hmm.
And that would like really worry me. And maybe that's why I like movies like About Time, because he has so many redos. But at the end of the movie, he doesn't even use them because he's realized he's unlocked something. And the movies like this as well, where it just focuses on time. And now I feel much more comfortable with it, thanks to movies like About Time.
Yeah.
Or movies like this that remind you how insignificant you can be on the timeline of time,
Yes.
but how significant you can be in your own life.
Absolutely.
So once I came
That
to
was
that
awesome.
conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
I am totally fine buying peanut butter at 70. If that is my biggest problem, that I ran out of peanut butter,
Uh-huh.
I'm happy.
Interesting. I like that a lot. It's very similar to what we were talking about in the Creed episode,
Yeah.
as far as like comparing yourself to others or yourself. It's just like the expounded level of that, comparing yourself to the vast timeline of the unknown universe
Yeah.
for your life. You know what I mean?
Another thing that would get me,
Uh-huh.
this is crazy, when like you're reading about wars
Yeah.
and it's like this one battle out of the hundreds of battles in this one war,
Uh-huh.
30,000 people had died and we have no idea who they were.
Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah.
Sure, someone's like, yeah, that was my great granddad. Yeah, he died at that battle.
Yep.
But that's all I know about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, 30,000 people? Just
Mm-hmm.
died, and now we don't know anything about them. Like, that's just crazy to me.
It's insane.
But now I'm like better about it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, well yeah, that's everybody.
That's everybody?
That's everybody except for like
Uh-huh.
5% of the world's population. That's like people are gonna remember for a while.
Yeah.
You know, but
Mm-hmm.
that's everybody. So just like stuff like that would send me into crisis mode.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
now not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think more than likely due to that's what I
Knowledge.
that's what I mean as far as like at this point in time, us as humans having access to this kind of knowledge, this kind of historical knowledge, and this kind of connectivity to what's happening on other parts of the world is what's made it more accessible than ever to have these existential feelings. It's essentially made it a consumer level or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like in ancient times, it was probably only the people that had every need taken care of and just had nothing but time in this lifetime to think about those things and philosophize about them or whatnot.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the philosophers of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Or the people that just kind
If
of
they even existed.
chose to. Yeah, recording time is like so iffy.
Is it Plato that like they're not sure if that was one person or like a bunch of people?
Yeah.
That they just credit
Is
as
it-
one source.
Is it? I think it's Socrates.
Or Socrates.
It's Socrates,
One of them.
maybe.
One of
I
the
think
Toga
Socrates
guys.
is the guy that he didn't record anything. He only spoke, and it was Plato who was inspired by him and wrote down the things that he did. And
Oh yeah, so like they're not even sure if Socrates was
yeah,
real.
yeah. He could have made a character Socrates that compiled all the cool guys that were around that he liked, and
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. More than likely, Socrates did exist, but the only record we have of it is like Plato's writings, and we don't even know out of all the writings that could possibly be Plato's what was actually Plato's. It's just too ancient, like.
Yeah.
And the methods for recording were too inefficient, and also like I
It's
don't
like if Shakespeare is just a pen name for like a
Yeah.
group of playwrights.
Yeah,
They just want to
exactly.
credit this one guy.
Yeah.
Who is not real.
yeah
So
yeah
crazy.
But,
You can just do that. And
have a
hundreds
pen
of-
name.
Yeah. And like you can just say like you're someone of influence.
Yeah,
You can just write down something and then
Uh-huh.
like hundreds of years later they'll just take it as fact or as theory.
Mhm.
That's just funny to me.
I like this movie a lot.
That was a good movie.
Brings up a lot of huge concepts that are good to reflect on from time to time if you are trying to gain some kind of peace with them. If you're just avoiding them, I feel like they'll continually haunt you for your entire life, like a ghost. But maybe if when they come up, you have some sort of methodology to try and wrangle it or like have some semblance of understanding with it, then maybe you're okay with that. Maybe that's like kind of the whole point of the ghost staying behind and then eventually being able to go. You know what I mean? I could definitely see them just like kind of making this movie and like half thinking about all these ideas
I know,
and
I
just
know.
like throwing it together like story wise and being like, yeah, talked about some big stuff. Cool movie. Good job, guys. You know? And then we're sitting here like just, bringing everything we've thought about in our lifetimes to it and trying to like connect each of the things from our hearts and minds into it. Like, this is what this means. You know what I mean?
Like we're just sitting here like pissing our pants.
Yeah.
Like
Did
thinking
you
about
pee-pee?
life.
Did you pee pee?
It's like scared. Oh, good.
Oh, you mean watching the movie?
I'm no like right now.
No,
like,
but
we're
you mean
talking
like
about
just
it.
figuratively, just some person
Sure.
is watching this pee in their pants,
Yeah,
but
'cause,
they
like,
just
they're
like kind of
scared of
had
it.
fun throwing a movie together.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of off topic, but about
Uh-huh.
just like history and stuff getting lost in history. I saw a video on this yesterday. I read about it, about how, I forget what time period it is. It's like 1600s, maybe early 1800s, that common like dinnerware sets included 3 shakers instead of 2, like what we have now.
Yeah.
Salt and pepper. There was a third one, but no one ever recorded what the third one was for.
Yeah.
And they started to go away like in the 1800s. And it's like a huge debate, like in the historical kitchenware community,
Yeah.
about what that third shaker was for.
Oh my God.
They've pretty much ruled out sugar because
Yeah.
at the time sugar was sold in like bulk, and it was like you had to like kind of shave sugar off of this like sugar stick,
Cube. Yeah.
sugar cube, sugar cone, whatever. So it probably wasn't that, unless you were like wealthy to afford pre-shaved sugar.
Yeah.
This was in like everyone's house, a third shaker.
Huh.
Maybe it was, they kind of have a placeholder that it was probably mustard seed
Yeah.
or like mustard powder.
Yeah.
But then it's like whenever they started making how mustard is today, it just kind of like got rid of it. Like, oh, who wants just mustard powder on stuff? But now
Yeah.
we have like mustard,
Yeah.
you know? But anyway,
funny.
it's just interesting that we don't know what that third shaker was that like everybody had. Everyone
Yeah.
had 3 shakers. Salt,
Wow.
pepper, and
Something. Huh.
but it's just lost to history until they find something where someone happened to write down like grocery list,
Uh-huh.
salt for 1 shaker, pepper for shaker 2, mustard powder for shaker 3.
Yeah.
You know, like they just don't know. Anyway, I just thought that was funny.
Maybe it was like placeholder shaker for just any spice that you
yeah,
could get your hands
I
on.
was thinking that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like maybe you needed like dual wield salt sometimes. I don't know. You know, like maybe they're eating a lot of salt.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You're gonna like maybe I don't know. People got tired of refilling the salt shaker, and I don't know. Some company was like, let's just throw in a third one,
Yeah.
a backup salt,
Backup salt.
so you can just like procrastinate refilling your salt container. Oh, you already have one. Don't need to fill that one up for a couple days.
I
don't
think
know.
salt came in the blocks as well, right? You'd have to shave off salt.
I guess at this time no, because they had 3 shakers.
Oh, yeah, because they had the shakers, so they were
and they
buying.
definitely
They were buying
know
salt. Yeah.
pepper and salt were the first 2.
Yeah.
It's just the third one they can't figure out.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it was paprika,
Paprika.
garlic powder.
That's pretty common. You could say that about any spice though. That it's like that's a common spice, but
I know. So I don't know. It's just funny.
interesting.
Maybe it was like maybe they just didn't think 2 was good. Maybe 2 wasn't like aesthetic on a table So
Back
they're-
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and they're confident it wasn't oil because
Okay.
because some of these sets came with oil things as well.
Yeah.
But they were on their own, and you still had the 3 identical shakers, and then you had like
be
a
weird to have
vinegar
oil
and
in a
oil one.
shaker.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they have ruled out oil and vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
So we just
Oh my gosh.
it's just funny like that's just
It
something
is.
that we have evidence from, but we don't know what it is, and it's such like a minuscule thing. as
Yeah.
a third kitchen shaker, but it's just crazy. Like wow, if we missed that, if we missed documenting what goes in this third shaker, how much other things do we not know about?
Do we not know about, or how many of the things we think we know a lot about are just like wrong,
Yeah, exactly.
or just exaggerations, or underestimations?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
History is crazy.
Messed up.
It's like whenever they thought that one dinosaur, they were confident.
Yeah.
They're like, this dinosaur existed.
Uh-huh.
And then someone was like, no, it didn't actually. You've
Yeah.
been wrong.
They were like, no, actually, 30% of these pieces go to this dinosaur.
Different dinosaur.
You've created a dinosaur.
I mean, you can say about anything. Whenever, people just smoke all the time, or,
Yeah, and they,
cocaine, leeches,
smoke, they used to, brand it as a healthy option, sorts of stuff.
or like, I mean, yeah, bleeding is just like a common practice. Like you got a cold, we got to slit your wrists.
Yep.
That's the
So ma-
problem.
and so many people died
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah. It's so
It's
funny.
insane.
Or like broke your foot. Sorry. That's coming off. One of my favorite memes ever is this it's just like doctor and patient meme. And it's like the patient's like, doctor, my stomach really hurts. And the doctor's like, it's probably ghosts. Anyway, here's cocaine. So many weird practices that like we view as super bad now.
Yeah.
Like, wow, people of today would never do something like that. That's crazy. What, like in 200 years, are they going to look at like stuff we're doing now?
Exactly.
And being like, wow, we would never let people be on their phones 16 hours a day.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen. That's
So,
going to happen in
stuff
our
like that.
lifetime.
I mean-
like research is going to come out about it.
Like, oh, wow.
Everyone that's part of the existential hum. Everyone kind of knows this is bad. Like just being on your phone all the time.
Yeah, so that's another thing, that we are aware of it. Like,
Yeah.
wow, we would never let, companies in one country regulate how their product is being made in another country. Like break rules in this country that they're based in,
Yep.
but just because they're doing it in another country, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would we ever do that? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
In a couple hundred years, hopefully, I can only hope that we'll continue getting better
Yeah.
as a society.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe one day we'll have our own futuristic skyscraper, like in a Ghost Story. It's gonna be
Yeah.
the future.
That'll happen. It'll get better. A ghost story, super awesome.
Loved it.
Very thought provoking. Very nice.
Liked it more than I thought I would for sure. I
Yeah,
thought I
me
was gonna
too.
like it
for
a
sure.
lot
Yeah.
because just like for the artsy perspective, I was like, that's
Mhm.
really cool.
And the concept.
Neat concept.
Can't wait to watch it again. I feel like I've been saying the same thing for the last few movies we've been talking about.
Can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, we've been watching some good
I
ones
liked it, but yeah.
so far.
Stuff
I want to watch another bad movie.
too.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to stumble upon it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope
Unless
it's
we
not
wanna-
a suggestion. That'd be so sad.
Could we go there?
Like just
Could we
rip
be like,
apart.
this is a suggestion? Anyway,
Ass.
sucked, bad, hated it.
So bad.